Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Today we have the original 1982 Disney animated film Aladdin. This is not the 2019 remake with him. God, my brain doesn't work anymore. This stars Robin Williams and has Scott Winger and Linda Larkin as Aladdin and Jasmine, respectively. And yeah, it's is the classic. It's part of the Disney Renaissance. Came out in 1992. It's an hour and 33 minutes long. And yeah, there's so much about this. I mean, the Alan Menken score, all the songs, obviously. This, I think, more than any of the other films. I mean, uh, they use some animated techniques in this that the other films, Beauty and the Beast had a little bit of it. I don't know if I can't recall if Little Mermaid had anything like it, but the digital animation, especially of the the lion head entrance to the treasure place at the beginning, especially in the flying sequences. It was the a lot of 3D animation from Pixar. If you look at the credits, you'll see that there is a Pixar section with all the staff that helped make those things possible. So yeah, it's kind of great to see that there's some early Pixar pre Toy Story. Just a few years. Toy Story was probably already being made at this point, but also making use of that the 3D animation in concert in you know wrapped right in there with the 2D animation that Disney was kicking butt on in the early 90s. Started with Little Mermaid in '89, Beauty and the Beast, and then Aladdin, and of course we had Rangers Down Under and a few other things here and there, but it was mainly the big musical princess related movies that were dominating the box office and just capturing the imaginations of so many people. Again, mostly because of the music and just the fun, creative, colorful stories. I mean, they're all classic stories. Little Mermaid is Hans Christian Andersen, I think. Or it's there's so many different versions of Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and of course Aladdin is a classic ancient tale that of course is Disneyfied and brought into the modern world. They didn't have to pay anybody any money to use the story of Aladdin because those people have been dead for centuries, if not eons. But yes, of course, the obviously big twist on the story probably made it a bit more palatable to modern audiences and children than some of the older versions of the story. This obviously, I don't really. Do I have to really tell you what the premise of the thing is, of the movie is? I mean, if you haven't seen, if you're a Disney fan and you're watching this and you've not seen Aladdin, I don't know. I don't know why you'd be watching me. But hey, you know what? Let's go through a quick thing here. This is the Disney version, not the original old versions. Just a story of a street rat, a kid who lives on the street stealing his food and has a little sidekick named Abu, little monkey, and he gets in all sorts of trouble. Falls in love with a princess who uh, while he feels trapped in his poverty, she feels trapped in her privilege. She escapes the palace for the first time in her life, goes out in the street, and has no idea how to handle herself. He gets her out of a pickle, and he immediately falls in love with her. Her beauty, her poise, and just everything about her. He realizes, man, I want to be with this girl. But when he realizes she's a princess and she's destined to only be able to marry a prince, well, what can a guy do? But he's also been tricked into recovering this lamp that contains a genie, and craziness ensues. And of course, that genie is voiced by Robin Williams in one of his most classic roles. In again, I've said this in other times we've had Aladdin movies with him in it. How do you animate for Robin Williams? Because so much of it feels like it feels like you can't script for him. Like he just goes off on a tangent, and then he says a bunch of stuff, and then you have to sort of edit it down and go, okay, these things fit together best and are funny. And now we animate around that. I imagine I could be completely wrong. Maybe every single thing he said was tightly scripted. I have no idea. Sure, there's a documentary out there or special things that might clarify that, but I have not looked at them yet. So anyway, but that's something to think about. Like, how do you animate a man who is living animation? Rest in peace. Um, it, so yeah, this is one of those movies that can do so much. It sort of blew a lot of people's minds that it didn't stick with. Yes, there's a Little Mermaid and a classic tale and ancient time, not ancient times, but a couple hundred years ago, and then there's Beauty and the Beast, which is again set in France and in a Victorian era, maybe ish. I'm not sure exactly the time period, but at least 1800s or so. Um, and here we're dealing with ancient Arabia, Middle Eastern. And by the way, this movie does have the warning that there are less than good depictions of people and cultures, and it's just like some of the other Aladdin films, the sequels on here have that in front of it, because it does not necessarily put Arabian people, people from that area of the world, in a good light, unless they're the perfect heroes, beautiful heroes, Aladdin and Jasmine. Every other one of them is just creepy and corrupt and twisted and ugly. So yeah, doesn't really paint a nice picture. Uh, yeah, and there's nothing but white people doing the voices for all the characters. Even Gilbert Gottfried is Iago, and he's just a parrot. And yeah, and this is actually one of those movies where they're chock full of sidekicks between Abu, uh, the magic carpet, and of course Genie, who steals the show. I mean, it's one of the few movies that, I mean, if you count, this is the third of the Renaissance princess movies. That Renaissance era. This is the first one where it's not primarily focused on a female protagonist. It's Aladdin, so it has to focus on Aladdin, even though Jasmine is certainly no prize to be won, and she's treated as a MacGuffin until she pretty much tells everybody, like, hey, you're not deciding my fate for me. Screw all you guys. Of course, Jafar figures that if she has to marry a prince, if she can't pick somebody, well, he makes some stuff up in the rules and says, hey, well, she has to marry the vizier, which he is, and that's how he hopes to become sultan. Well, yes, everything starts going sideways for everybody throughout this. Aladdin feels like he needs to prove himself and not be himself, and that's one of the other lessons that's learned in this thing. It's a matter of, if you want to connect with somebody for real, you have to be yourself and not who you are expected to be, either by that person or society. And yeah, it's. I realize I'm jumping all over here. I was doing sidekicks, and now I'm doing the purpose of the story. But yeah, let me go back to the sidekicks thing for a second. There's so many sidekicks. I mean, even the bad guy has Iago. Jafar has Iago, and Jasmine has what's his name? Why can't I remember the tiger's name? Come on, no, come on, show me Jim Cummings. No, that's Razul. Jim Cummings does Razul. Where's Nope, that's not him. Nope, that's not him. Nope. Okay. Either way, she is a tiger, and my brain, it's completely erased now. So yeah, there's chock full of sidekicks who can be made into plush toys. So yeah, the story is fun because, again, there's a lot of back and forth. There's not a weak character in the bunch, even though Dad is the traditional ding 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 widower, the Disney trope of always having one parent, one dead and one alive, and Dad is the comic relief in a sense. He knows nothing. He's easily manipulated. He has a good heart, and he means well, but yeah, he's pretty much has a demeaning role. But if you look, by the way, this is not an insult to the actor at all who portrays him, Douglas Seal. He, if you look at him on IMDb, you're like, I can hear the Sultan's voice just by looking at that guy. It's pretty great. He has that look to him. He doesn't look like the Sultan, but he looks like that voice that comes out of the Sultan's mouth. So yeah, it's one of my favorite things about this. Gilbert Gottfried also is really funny. He has the most funny lines besides Robin Williams, and and Robin Williams, like I said, he's one of the things that popped out, made his character really, I guess, really pop, is the idea that his entire presence was anachronistic. He was doing impressions of Jack Nicholson and Rodney Dangerfield, modern comedians and actors and people that we knew. There's references to Pinocchio, and Sebastian from Little Mermaid shows up, and all sorts of Disney things and all sorts of pop culture things get thrown in there. It's things that would not exist in Agrabah in this time period. So it's in third century, Agrabah, which is a fake place, but it's the idea that it gave people a sort of a touch tone. It made this movie incredibly quotable, and people doing genie impressions like crazy back in the early '90s. That was a thing. Before Borat, my wife, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's or South Park and doing all the Cartman impressions. People were doing genie impressions because it was immediately familiar, and if you could do just one or two lines from Genie, you were suddenly funny. So it's a testament to Robin's talent as a comedian, and just a character. Like I don't know if the point of the Genie was always to be some crazy, wacky person. I'm trying to think of any other person in that era that could have been. Okay, Will Smith. That's the one who did was the Genie in the live action version. I'm just trying to think of anybody at that level who could have played the Genie in 1992, and you can't. I'd love to. If you want to have somebody, if you've made it this far in the video, if you have an idea of who could have played the Genie in 1992, or if they made this in any other era, give me an idea of who you think could have played the Genie in any era of film, and at the level that Robin Williams brought it to this character and made it as iconic as he did. I'd love to hear it. I just can't think of anybody that's working at that level. Love or hate him, love or hate his comedy, or his energy and his manic, just madman, rapid fire, motor mouth type of comedy. To some people is exhausting, but I just can't picture anybody else who could be a Genie like that. I don't know, in the same role. If it was as fully scripted as we imagine it would be, it's impossible. So I've drug that into the ground. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
251.
251. Went past it. Okay, well, we got another documentary, and it's probably National Geographic, and it's probably a one-off, or it could be a short series. I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. It's we're heading back to India. India's wild leopards. India's wild leopards. That's what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.